I am so excited about the Sony 16mm full frame f1.8 lens that's coming out in the beginning of April 2025. It looks like a fantastic lens. And I say fantastic for a couple of reasons. I love to move the camera. I currently have the 20mm f1.8 lens. I don't have the 16, like I said, it's not out yet, but I love the 20mm for a lot of reasons. I love a wide lens and being able to move around on a gimbal and get some really interesting shots. And the 20mm from Sony allows that. It really includes some of the world around your subject, which makes it feel more immersive, and I enjoy that very much. I also love f1.8 because you can go from using an ND filter during the day to get shots when it's really bright outside, no problem, all the way down into low light, like just full on super low light. Especially I shoot on the FX3, and so being able to use the ISO 12800 combined with an f1.8 lens is monstrous. It looks so much brighter than it does to your eye naturally. It blows people's minds every time I show them. But honestly, it's a fantastic thing. Not only does it give you just an overall better look at night in low light where you can really get a nice exposure and get a feel for the space, but there's some other cool benefits, like having the sky look brighter than it does to your eye at night brings some color to the sky. It doesn't look like just blackness out there behind the trees. If you've got a tree line, for example, you get this really nice separation of kind of a bluish sky and then the tree line and then whatever's in your foreground, and it just adds such depth to your frame that I think there's a really big advantage to shooting with a lens that is a fast, wide lens at night outdoors with a camera like the FX3, A7S III, whatever, ZV-E1, one of these crazy high ISO 12800 cameras. It just gives you an amazing look and the ability also to shoot with practical lighting as your light sources rather than having to rig in a bunch of lights if you're doing some type of narrative stuff. Having that fast lens is just unbelievably helpful for being able to get all that extra light that comes into the scene from practicals. It makes it a lot easier to light. Heck, I use a set of Godox bulbs many times and I just place them into fixtures around the room, and that is ample to light the entire scene when shooting at 12,800 with a fast lens. I love that. I love being able to move fast and bit through a story and not get stuck in all of the details and the resets every time you have to move and reset your camera. It can take a long time. So having something where you can do minimal lighting gear, not that you're not lighting, because you still need to motivate your lighting and make it look good, but you're not having to spend all that time putting C-stands and combo stands and junior stands and flags and silks. You can just make all those problems go away when you can use lower powered light sources with a fast lens like this. So that's another reason I'm really pumped about it. Now, from what I have seen in the tests, there may be some things you could pixel peep that you're not going to like about this lens. Could be potentially a little onion ringing in the bokeh. Might be some distortion in the bokeh in the corners. But you have to understand that unless you're spending thousands or tens of thousands of dollars on professional level cinema lenses that all have that corrected, you're buying lenses that work with a camera body, with a profile that's going to correct all those issues with the lens, so it's going to look like a much more expensive lens, even though it didn't cost you near as much as those lenses. And I love that. I also just love that Sony is really seeming to listen to creators right now. For the last several years, they've been pushing out microphones, lenses, camera bodies for every niche they can find and really responding, and I appreciate that. And so this 16mm f1.8, I cannot wait to get my hands on one. It's going to be a blast to use on a gimbal. Right now, my go-to is the 16 to 35 f4 power zoom. It's a fantastic lens. I love 16 to 35 on a gimbal. It's great, but the f4, when I go indoors, it does make it more limiting for sure, or outside at night, because in my experience, 12,800 with an f4 lens on one of these camera bodies gives you about equivalent to your eyes. So if you walk into a room and you feel like it's bright enough for you to see and interact with people, then it's probably going to be plenty bright to expose, quite honestly, at 12,800 on an f4 lens. When you get down to f1.8 though, you can get it brighter than it looks to your eye, and you can really take advantage of being able to see into those dimmer conditions that make it moody. You know, on a film set, when it's really bright and then you color correct in post, you spend a lot of time lighting and then a lot of time bringing it darker in post. And it just kind of takes everybody out of the moment, and I feel like if you can minimize your lighting, keep it easy when you're shooting with a fast lens, that is awesome. Let's talk about some of the details of this lens. First up, the lens comes in at 304 grams. Or 10.8 ounces. That's pretty light. It's going to be super handy for handheld or gimbal work or any of that kind of stuff. Number two, it uses the linear XD motors from Sony, so super quiet, fast autofocus. It's going to work reliably. Three, the focus breathing is very minimal on this lens from what I have seen to begin with, But with focus breathing compensation on a lot of the cameras now, it's going to be pretty much non-existent. This one, like many lenses these days, is a 67mm front filter thread, so hopefully you can share filters from other lenses with that, which is great. This lens is also dust and moisture resistant, like many of them. It has the aperture ring here that you can lock into auto mode or manually set your aperture. You have the click on off switch so that you can declick or click the aperture. It also has an iris lock switch, which the 20mm f1.8 does not have, but the 16-35 f4 power zoom does have. I don't know what's going on with that. It has a function button that can be set to many different settings, and last but not least, it has an AF/MF switch. So it seems to have a blend of features from the 16-35 f4 PZ and the 20mm f1.8. I don't know why they're doing it that way, but that's what they've done. Anyway, I can't wait to see this lens. I hope you're as excited as I am. I hope this video is helpful. I'll see you next time.